Welcome to the weekly kickoff for the week of June 29th, brought to you by themortgagereal.com. We have mentioned China significantly in the previous weekly kickoffs and the weekly recaps, and the main significance of that is we thought China was going to be a supporter of the U.S. economy, which in turn they are, but it's a little bit more strategic than that when you look in the backgrounds. What China is really doing by investing into the bonds and the debt of the United States is they're keeping their currency, the Chinese yuan, undervalued. And by doing that, to the United States, it looks very appealing to send our manufacturing for the manufacturing of goods to keep the cost of goods down going through China. It keeps that type of economy flowing. So really, when you look at it, their mission is to keep their Chinese yuan undervalued, invest in the U.S. debt, national debt, to have that currency exchange and, most importantly, their economic exchange flowing through their economy. So that is a benefit to the United States and definitely a benefit to homeowners. This week, not too many announcements coming out as we celebrate Independence Day and recognize on Friday for some banks, the Federal Reserve, and also Wall Street. So there's not too much activity coming out. And in fact, being that it's June 30th, mid-year, you have a lot of institutional, hedge fund, money managers, all of the different money sources that watch the monies closing off their semi-annual balance sheets, and you're starting to see the market trade up slightly. So that's some of the significance there. Until next week, we go into the unemployment reports being released, there's probably not going to be too much activity. So this week's going to remain pretty tame. We really want to touch briefly on what happened last week with Ben Bernanke and the Federal Reserve's announcements. Keep in mind, the key words that we're looking for was inflation. They said that inflation's in check, at least for the next 6 months. But keep in mind, there is a Federal Reserve meeting every single month. So could that change and the tempo change at any given time? Absolutely. But right now, they still feel that inflation is in check. It's not a concern, at least toward the end, till the end of this year, and moving, most importantly, into 2010. With that, we were hoping for, in the mortgage world, that they were going to announce some type of reinvestment into more monies backing the mortgage-backed securities. Keep in mind, we have $1.2 trillion available. Out of that $1.2 trillion, year to date, we've used about 50% of it. So that means mortgages really are on sale. And when you think about that, we go from June 30th to December 30th, 2009. Once those funds by the Federal Reserve are no longer there, what happens to interest rates? Unfortunately, you're probably looking at higher rates. So in the back of your mind, if you're thinking about buying or refinancing, there is a really sense of urgency here. And we're not driving people to push people into mortgages, we're not pushing people into loans, but it's something to consider. If you take the Federal Reserve's actions out of this marketplace, interest rates higher, there is a sense of urgency to refinance or purchase within this next 6-month window. Plus, on top of that, if you're thinking about purchasing and you're a first-time home buyer, then you have the $8,000 stimulus still on the table that can benefit you as long as it's purchased by December 30th, 2009. So there are some things to keep in mind as you move forward through this year, that increasing your cash flow, preparing for future inflation. Inflation is inevitable, it's going to come. The timing, when will it be, no one knows yet. But when it comes, the best thing to do is have your largest expense and your most valued expense, your home, situated so that you can control the new cost of inflation so it doesn't hit you that hard in the pocketbook. Because we all know where it's going to hit us the hardest, at the groceries and the gas pumps. So until next week, we really don't have too much more to bring. Please have a safe and celebrate the independence of the United States on the 4th of July, and we'll definitely talk to you next week.